Now let's turn our focus to Kenya, an East African country with more than 47 million people. It has been rocked by protests. The agitation began against the rising cost of living. It soon devolved into an anti-government demonstration, and now there is violence on the streets. At least 2 people have been killed. Looters have ransacked homes and businesses. A mosque and a church have been vandalized. The country is tense. Today, it saw a third large-scale protest. Kenyan police forces have ramped up security in the capital. But why are these demonstrations taking place? You see, they've been organized by Kenya's opposition parties. They ask protesters to gather every Monday and Thursday. The man leading this campaign is Raila Odinga, the most prominent opposition leader of Kenya. He contested the presidential election last year. He lost to William Ruto. Ruto is now the president, and Odinga has made a record of sorts. He has run for the post of president 5 times, and he has lost every time. But in this election, he was quite close. Reports say he secured about 49% of the vote. So he has popular support, if not the numbers. And he's weaponizing the support, taking the government to task. Like I said, the protest began with people complaining about the rising cost of living. Kenya, like most of the world, is dealing with the fallout of the war in Ukraine. There is rampant inflation. It has severely affected the cost of staples like food and fuel. And President William Ruto has made it worse. He has cut food and fuel subsidies. Electricity prices are set to rise next month. Ruto says he's doing this to try and curb Kenya's burgeoning public debt. His motives may sound logical, but they've bred resentment. And they've allowed the opposition to capitalize on public anger. Odinga is using this to challenge Ruto's rule. He wants the previous election overturned. He wants Ruto ousted. His supporters have rallied behind him to take on the government, and the government is fighting back. Police have used tear gas and water cannons on protesters. They blocked off Odinga's rally. The government tried to ban protests altogether by calling them illegal. But this goes against Kenya's constitution. The law protects the right to peaceful protest. But the government justifies the ban. It says the protests are not peaceful. Also, political violence in Kenya is not new. The worst was after the 2007 election. More than 1,000 people were killed then. It exacerbated ethnic fault lines in the country. Even today, all the factions are under attack. Government forces are being pelted with stones. Odinga's private businesses have been vandalized. Hundreds gathered and destroyed former President Uhuru Kenyatta's property. A mosque and a church were attacked. There is complete chaos. And at this time, President Ruto is in Germany on an official visit. But he vowed to protect public property and punish the perpetrators.
I want to tell you that we have no exceptions on respect for the rule of law. And we also don't have exceptions on protection of property or lives. Everybody must respect the rule of law, and everybody is entitled to the protection of their property and of their assets and of their lives by the government of Kenya. It is unthinkable for any government to participate in the destruction of property of citizens. I want to tell you, as I tell Kenyans and members of the global community, that the government of Kenya will make sure that the property and lives of all Kenyans, including our visitors, will be protected, and those involved in criminal activity, including the invasions, will be brought to book.
Meanwhile, Odinga has said it's actually Ruto who's behind the violence.
Ruto's hands are all over this violence. When Azimio La Umoja called for protests in line with Article 37 of our Constitution, we never envisaged that in desperation, the state will respond by hiring goons and mercenaries to rain terror on peaceful and innocent Kenyans.
It's a grand political mess. Everyone's pointing fingers at one another, and ordinary Kenyans are the ones caught in the crossfire.
To me, it's a big loss. I've lost over 500,000. This is a very big loss. I don't know how I'll recover it. I don't know where I'll start from. I totally don't know what I'll do.
Religious authorities in Kenya have asked people not to protest. International observers like the African Union are calling for dialogue. They say it's the only way forward because Kenya has seen enough violence. What it needs now is for cooler heads to prevail.